Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio Towns, where in the previous episode we did a bunch of biter killing. We started using the turret creep method and being a little bit cheaty, and spent a lot of the episode pushing back the biters so we wouldn't have so much trouble with them. And if you didn't enjoy that, then today's episode has no biter killing. Today we're only going to be working on little bits of factory stuff and some actual rails, trying to get some trades moving. So we start off the episode by having a quick look around the defences in the main base, and it's looking pretty good. There have been not many biter attacks since I went out there and dealt with a lot of the bases, so it's all fine. There's a little bit of resupplying needed on sort of the most attacked point on the wall, but the offending base that was in the east is gone now, so that should be fine. There are more that are further away in the east, and I think in pollution range, so there could be some attacks, but overall it seems to be very quiet right now, which is all good. So we're going to hop over to Colbury. We can just walk there because it's right there. Also, I lost track of my car for a minute, didn't know where I'd put it. I parked it up after coming back from the most recent journey out into the wilderness. So we'll park that up in a more accessible location. And I'm just going to move some bricks and some coal around. We've got to put some more coal into the furnaces and things, and more bricks into the concrete production so we can carry on flooring everywhere. Though I have been reminded that flooring actually stops the ground from absorbing pollution, so we do want to watch out for that. If we floor too much, then the pollution will spread a lot more than otherwise, and that's no good. So we're going to put in some new bits of rail. What I'm doing is using this train here to measure the distances, make sure that there is a block in between the junction that's just off Chipton, and then this other junction that I'm having here where it forks into the northeast and the northwest. And there is a problem, because it doesn't line up very well. The diagonal line goes into the middle of the Colbury station, and it is in fact too far south. So I have a look at the map and all the rails and stuff in it, and I decided that the easiest way to fix this, the easiest way to fix it actually would be to put in some sort of bend. Where for a moment it's horizontal, then it goes vertical. But I didn't want to do that, because we're setting this up for the first time. This station is yet to actually operate, and we want it to be in the best position to start with, because as time goes on and things change, the landscape will change, and I'll have to make more and more modifications to the rails. And really I want to start with it as neat as possible, because it is going to get messier, and I want everything to line up nicely for now. So what I'm going to do is move the entire station up by 6 meters, which is slightly tedious and annoying, but I get it done fairly quickly. Rename the stations and such. Everything is already sort of in place. I just have to move the bends and certain bits like that so it all lines up, and that means that we can have a proper diagonal line turn straight into the station, and it's not fiddly or awkward or anything. It wouldn't be too bad if it did have a turn, but I don't want there to be too many 90-degree turns where there aren't junctions, because they look a bit weird. You don't get that many 90-degree junctions in sort of real-life train networks. There'll be very gradual turns over long distances, and the stations will be lined up in a way that fits the system best. And in fact, if you could have diagonal stations here that worked fairly well, I would use them, but unfortunately it doesn't really come out right. It ends up having to have sort of a horizontal and a vertical component, and it's awkward getting the trains to park in a way that you can load them properly. So we have to make do with only having north, south and east, west stations that we can make. So I did deconstruct the old bit of rail there. That is something I'll not usually be doing. The reason that I deconstructed that bit of rail is because it's never had a job, and so leaving it in place would not make it a bit of the rail's history, really. It was just a incorrect lead setup thing. It turned out, like, as soon as I wanted to connect this station to the rest of the network, I realised that bit of rail was wrong, so I just removed it. In future, if we have a bit of rail that has been used and then becomes redundant, I will probably leave it in to give the landscape a bit more history and things like that. So we're moving up the location of the outpost. The reason being that we want there to be a gate leading into the outpost so that so that it's safe, so that the biters can't just walk in. So I've moved the wall a bit so that we can have it on a straight bit of track where we can put in the gates, and I'm then going to move up all of the turrets and things as well. I've also rejigged the path so that it stays inside the lines and doesn't have to go all over the shop. So it now goes a bit more north, and it just goes into the middle of the outpost, so it's not that important what it does. I might not even bother with having it going into the middle, but I guess because it's such a large outpost, that does make sense. So I'm changing the positioning of the power poles, The reason being, these are very important power poles. These will one day provide all of the power to everywhere, all of the towns. So I want it to line up nicely. I've got one in the middle, and then one at the top and bottom with room for turrets. And then that connects up nicely to the steam engines. We may have some like extra connections, like one going south, connecting up to the rails, just to make sure that we don't have some sort of issue where I happen to break one of the power poles to make room for something and then don't realise that it's powering literally everything. So yeah, we've got that all done. We've got everything sorted out in Colbury, so now we're just putting the rails in that connect it to the rest of the network, and at that point we will actually have a connection that it would make sense for trains to run down, the one from the southern station of Chipton to Colbury, delivering coal up to the stations, and supplementing the coal that was already here, because it will one day run out. There's not that much of it available. It is getting a little bit thin on the ground under some of the mining drills, but I imagine there's a long time yet before there's any trouble with that. So, sorting out the stone stuff here. This is our only supply of stone now, so I want to make sure that we have raw stone being supplied as well. And I realised that we didn't really, because the raw stone chest was all being unloaded into the production of stone bricks. So I set up a chest to store the stone, and realised immediately that there is not enough stone coming out of said chest to supply it. Well, out of the chest that already has stone in. I could just siphon off from that, but that's boring. I want to have a sort of automatic system that resupplies the stone as time goes on, because we might need to do that. We will need raw stone for making rails, for example. So I have it running into the chest, but I realise that doesn't make any difference because the limiting factor is the rate at which that fast inserter is unloading the chest. So we have it run directly onto the belt, and it starts getting through to the raw stone chest. So that's all fine, and we'll leave that to do its thing, come back later, and there should be plenty of raw stone available. Though the stone's running out fairly quickly there, particularly that little bit that we just started mining. There's a fairly large deposit where the main miner is. We should possibly put more miners in it. I'm not really sure. So, we're moving the train down. We want to start setting up an actual timetable, get this train running between the two stations, but there is still a bit of the line that isn't connected. Now, I try and park up the Chipton train again in Chipton, but I realise there's a bit of a problem, because trains are not supposed to stop in the middle of the network and turn back. It's not designed for that. So I had to sort of cheat and go back along the... basically go the wrong way down the tracks. Won't be able to do that in future because we'll have all sorts of trouble with trains getting in the way. But for now, there's nothing actually running, so we can do that fine. I'm not going to put in the remaining signals. I've checked up on the design that I use. There's probably some signals that don't need to be there, but my current reasoning is the more signals are in it, the more different blocks, and the more chance there is of trains not interfering with each other when they don't need to. There's also more chance of trains getting too far into a system and getting stuck, and there being a jam that way. We'll look at that later. We'll implement chain signals as necessary, but right now I can't bother checking it. So we're putting in the rail that will connect Colbury to the rest of the stuff. We just need to make sure that these ore belts can continue to run underneath them. Eventually these won't exist, and everything will be delivered by train, but for now we don't have all the necessary infrastructure in place, and of course it's delivering to a place that will not exist one day, once we've got rid of it and replaced the main base with some individual towns for its various purposes. So I'm setting up this junction here. This is a simpler one because it's a fork in the road, rather than a three-way junction where a train going in one way can come out like any of the other ways. We may change it later depending on the need for trains to go in certain directions. If the train from Colbury ever needs to go up to the northeast, it would have to go around this corner, but for now it doesn't need to be there. So it makes it very simple. There are only six signals. We could have more, but unfortunately the structure of the rails doesn't allow for it. What I wanted to do was have it so that two trains going either way along a line would not interfere with each other, but because of the way you can't put signals on the inside of curves in the rail, I can't put in all the signals I want to, meaning that there will always be there can only ever be one train in that junction at any one time, even though there are routes that don't interfere with each other through it. So I guess we'll just have to deal with that. Maybe we can do something with it in future. Maybe signals will be changed in future so that you can put them there. But anyway, we're sorting out the remainder of the power poles. We're sort of standardizing it, having all of the power run along the rails themselves, rather than through random points in the wilderness. So we put in the ones through the rails and then deconstruct the old ones. Trying to make sure that things stay connected as much as possible. It's not that vital because a lot of the factories are just off right now. Science is done and the supply of circuits is built up, so there's actually barely any production going on. Most of the power is currently going into running the radars. They're not particularly vital either. I think they've done all the scanning they can, and their purpose now is just to rescan old areas. So that's great. We're not using any power at the moment, and for that reason, the pollution is actually receding right now and becoming less and less of a problem, which is why there haven't been any biter attacks. I can't remember if there was one early on over in the west part of Chipton, but I haven't noticed any since that event that may or may not have happened. So that's good. Once we start getting more, when we start working towards getting blue signs running again, things will pick up and we will start having trouble with biters. So in the meantime, I need to make sure that I continue to keep the base defended, because you can always sort of get a bit too relaxed about it and sort of not bother defending, because you're like, well, the biters aren't attacking, and then when they do attack, it all goes horribly wrong. Anyway, I'm back in the main base at the moment doing some resupplying on copper and iron and gears and all that usual stuff. That's all fine. Resupplying on steel, making sure everything's fully fueled with coal while I happen to be around. And we can also check up on the stone stuff. There is plenty of concrete been produced, and there is still a fair bit of stone left, which is good. So we'll grab a bunch of that, so we have plenty of stuff for making signs with, because I did ask last episode for people to come up with names for the southern section of Chipton that's supplying coal, because I don't just want to call it Chipton North and South, really. I might call the stations that, but I'd like to have a particular name for that particular area, just because it's a slightly separate area, even though the iron one is as well. Maybe I should name that one too. I don't really know. I'm just sorting out the remainder of the power poles. Everything now runs through the rails, which is all good. I noticed that the copper is getting a little bit short, so I decided to add in some new mining drills, but I'm not going to actually power them yet. I'm going to wait till the system has run down a little bit more. So having a quick check around Chipton, resupplying on circuits. And I believe I also go down to the coal line that supplies the furnaces and do a bit of a rejig so that the coal from the west part of Chipton gets priority, because there's too much of it right now, and we want to get it finished before we start using the coal from the south part of Chipton. So let's go through some of the name suggestions. There weren't that many because I didn't really push it that much as a major thing. I just wanted a couple of ideas. So one of them, which I quite liked, was Chipping Cross, based on London's Charing Cross. That's quite clever. There was Chipton Thorpe, Chipton the District of Coal, Chipton under Smog, Smog upon Chipton, Chipton Coal Co, Lower Chipton, and the Chipton Coalfields. All quite nice, but none of them were ones I actually used, because there was quite a nice one that I spotted. I'll momentarily tell you what's going on the screen, though. I'm working out where I could put the inserters to load the cargo wagons and where I can put them to load the engines. And it looks like I can load each of the cargo wagons in this particular station, excuse me, each one with 6 different inserters, which is good. That's plenty. And my throat is it's gone today. I haven't even done a recording. Sometimes when I do recording, my throat just starts to suffer. But I haven't done any today. My throat's just decided to die anyway. I'll carry on. It doesn't matter. So the layout of this particular station means that I can have 6 inserters feeding into each one, which is good. That's sort of the best you can hope for in a north-south station. And I decide to put the inserters at the limits of those so that I can sort of mark it out and work out where it is for future reference. Also, on the other side, I put in the loading for the coal in the actual train itself. The reason I put this on the other side is so that I can have a splitter, which means that they get higher priority, because if it's all in one line, there is a chance that the one on the end won't get it. Anyway, we've set it up running. We now have it timetable. It now has a job. It goes between the Chipton South station and the Colbury North station. So at the other end, we'll put in the inserters to work out how we're going to unload it properly. And I also start putting in inserters for loading engines before I realised that you only need it at one end, because as long as somewhere the train is being loaded, you don't have to worry about it. We'll probably later on set up coal loading in this particular station, because there might be trains that come here and not go to somewhere else that loads coal and things like that. It gets very confusing working out which station needs to load coal and which one doesn't. Anyway, in this particular one, things have turned out slightly differently. It seems that I can only have 5 inserters, I think, on the upper cargo wagon, just because of how it's been arranged, which shows how sort of fiddly and annoying it can be having north-south stations. Sometimes it lines up and sometimes it doesn't. I don't even understand how that can be the case. I think it's just the location of the station on the rails. It might be something to do with having it like a north-facing line rather than a south-facing line. That is probably what it is. But it's not that vital. We don't need a really high rate of coal unloading, and we probably never will. We just need enough, and it'll probably be fine. So I'm running the coal right underneath the Colbury sign, which is quite nice, because you sort of want the product to be like, it's sort of like it's outlining the sign in a way. But anyway, over at the stone mining, things have slowed down a fair bit because that stone chest is emptied. So I added another mining drill to try and bolster things. I don't know whether that will be enough for it to still get into the chest on the end. We may have to do something about that in the future. But anyway, we'll continue. Actually, I think we finished our work on the unloading. Yeah, we have. The line is all set up. It goes onto the main coal line, and it goes into a splitter. So 50% of the coal generating power will now come from the new bit of Chipton, and half of it will come from Colbury itself until Colbury runs out, and then we'll rely entirely on the south part of Chipton. So I'm just putting in some lights. That's one thing I forgot when I was putting in all the power, that I need to make sure that everything is also lit up. So conveniently, because there are power poles all the way along, you can light it fairly well. Just put a light at each power pole and you have a nice regular light system. It's like any sort of street lights you have on like a motorway or anything. I don't know whether you have lights on train lines. I don't think you do, really. I guess you don't really need them. So yeah, we'll light everything up nicely, the entire network, and make sure we can see. And nightfall is just at the right time. So anyway, we'll put in the name now. So I will finally announce the final name that I chose, and it was not in fact one that contained the word Chipton. That was my plan, but I changed my mind, and I decided to pick the name of Southbridge. It was proposed by Rai P, who I've seen commenting quite a lot over the time. I don't know. It's definitely a familiar name. But yes, it was quite a clever name. I really liked it, and the reason... I mean, I'm not that good with technology. I looked it up and sort of read about it, and I thought it fit quite well, because basically it's a secondary computer chip that deals with, I think, less essential features in a computer, and that makes a lot of sense. It applies to this outpost. The point of this outpost, well, it's not really the point of this part of Chipton, this particular station, is to take the pressure off the main Chipton station, because the main Chipton station in future will have a lot to deal with. It'll have a lot of circuits to ship out, and a lot of iron and copper to ship in. For a while it won't have that because it's got so much iron and copper already available. We may even have it shipping copper and iron out to other places, considering how much there is available here. But basically the point of this particular station is to take the pressure off. It's to deal with the coal stuff separately, so that the main Chipton station doesn't have to worry about it. So I thought that fit really well, and I decided to name it as such. So we've got the name plaque all set up nicely. Putting in a couple more bits of signals around the place as needed. Making our way back up to Colbury, putting them all in here. Probably more than I need to, really. I mean, there's only one train running right now, so you need literally 0 signals. But of course, we're making sure it's all ready for future use. I'll also grab a bunch more coal. Probably a bit too much coal. I ended up with like 20 plus stacks of it. And then I also try and grab some stone, and I can't because I don't have enough room for it in my inventory anymore. I should probably just have coal running along a line to the smelting now I think about it. I'm sort of imagining it still as if it's over in the main base where there wasn't so much coal available. Anyway, we can resupply everything in the main base. And well, ourselves as well, supply coal to the furnaces. Give ourselves all the usual stuff, ammo as well. There was one single biter that attacked attacked Southbridge a minute ago. You may have spotted it. I think it was a lone medium biter. Just ran up and it was immediately defeated, of course. But anyway, with that done, it's time for the next bit of naming, because I'm setting up the next station. I don't know how soon I will actually get this one operational, but I thought it would be good to ask for the names now, get it done with, because we'll have a lot of names to come up with in the coming weeks. And I want to make sure... I don't want to ask for 2 names in one go, because that is a recipe for disaster. And just, well, not really disaster, but just mess. Makes things a lot more awkward to sort through. Because the way I do it is I look through the comments of the video where I ask for the name, and then in the next episode I work out the name. So if I ask for 2 at once, it would be a bit awkward and fiddly and confusing. So this will be the oil outpost. There is a nice big oil deposit right next to it, and my intention is that we will pump, process, refine, and store the oil stuff here. Everything will happen here. That's the current intention. I don't think I'll split it up between 2. And when it comes to splitting up production and processing, there will always be that point where the oil runs out, pretty much, and we have to start shipping it in from somewhere else anyway. So we might as well start with an oil deposit just to speed up that process, doing it the usual way where we, like, the town builds itself on top of the resource and then makes its money or its place in the world after producing that resource. So yeah, I have no particular plans about how I'm going to name this one. I really don't mind. You could have like, it could be pipe something, or oil something, or even plastic something. I don't care. Go for it. It could even be named after a real oil pumping plant. Actually, I have said before that I didn't want to do that, but if it makes sense as well, then maybe I will. I don't know. We'll work it out. But I'm just I put some more lights in everywhere, and now we're going to finish up by going back to our brand new Southbridge sign. So I shall say goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.